Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and I'm joined today by our resident logistics expert to dissect a document that's really claiming to set the standard for the next few years of fleet management.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We're looking at the Complete Guide to Fleet Visibility with Real-Time Data 2026, and that's published by GPS Insight.
Right. Which, on the surface, it sounds like just another manual on GPS tracking.
Exactly.
But the premise here is,
Okay.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say the premise is that we are hitting this tipping point, right? Where traditional tracking is, well, it's basically obsolete.
It is a really bold stance.
It is. And you look at that date 2026, and that's a signal. They aren't talking about the technology we used 5 years ago. They are arguing that the whole baseline for running a fleet has shifted. If you're just putting dots on a map, you aren't actually managing a fleet anymore. You're just watching it.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. Visibility versus tracking. Is this just a clever rebrand? Because, to most people, if I can see where the truck is, I have visibility. What is the actual distinction this guide is making?
It's a fair skepticism, honestly, but the guide makes a really hard distinction. Think of tracking as passive. It answers one question: where is my asset?
Right, just singular data points.
Exactly. Visibility, at least as GPS Insight defines it for 2026, is contextual. It's not just where the truck is, it's how the truck is. Like, is the engine overheating? Is the driver speeding? Is the cargo at the right temperature?
So tracking is location, but visibility is the actual situation.
Spot on. Tracking is one-dimensional. Visibility is holistic. The guide argues that for the 2026 landscape, knowing location just isn't enough to protect your margins.
And this is huge for the listeners out there. If you are a trades business owner who has to watch every single dollar, or maybe a fleet safety manager dealing with, managing liability.
Or even a growth stage CEO trying to scale operations, you need to see the entire operations health in a single view. That is true transparency. It's exactly why solutions like Responsible Fleet GPS have become so critical, right? They provide that actual visibility so managers aren't just sitting there frustrated with their current legacy providers.
Which perfectly leads us to the second big pillar in that title, real-time data. Again, we've had real-time GPS for years. Why is this guy doubling down on that exact phrase right now?
Because the shelf life of data has totally collapsed. In the past, fleet management was mostly retrospective. You'd get a report at the end of the week saying, hey, driver A sped 10 times on Tuesday.
Yeah, just historical logs.
Right. It's essentially an autopsy. You're looking at what went wrong long after the damage is done.
And you can't fix Monday's problems on Friday.
That is the absolute crux of it. The guide emphasizes that real time in 2026 means immediate actionability. If a safety threshold is breached, the manager knows right now. They can intervene right now.
It shifts the job from auditing history to actually managing the present moment.
Exactly. And that is the core argument GPS Insight is making here. Data is only valuable if it arrives in time to actually change the outcome.
It really sounds like they're trying to position themselves as the ultimate authority on this methodology. It's less about selling software and more like, here is the philosophy you need to survive.
That is definitely the strategy. By stamping 2026 on it, they are establishing a maturity model. They're effectively saying that the margin for error in today's economy is shrinking. If you're relying on historical reports, you are simply too slow.
It's a bit of a wake-up call. It forces you to audit your own setup.
It does. It moves the goalposts. If you aren't operating with visibility and real-time data, you are arguably running a legacy operation.
So if we boil all this down for you listening right now, the person who actually manages the vehicles, the takeaway is that knowing where your trucks are is just the bare minimum. The new standard is knowing the context of that movement and knowing it immediately.
Spot on. It's the shift from reactive to proactive.
Well, here's a thought to leave you with. It's something the title hints at but doesn't explicitly ask. If you have all this real-time data flooding in right now, are you actually using it for visibility, or are you just staring at a faster stream of confusing numbers? Because there's a very big difference between seeing data and seeing the truth. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.